here. There we go. Looks like the stupid audio thing reset on the streaming thing here. Sorry about that. I usually keep an eye on that with the intro. Let me just restart real quick and hit the intro. Because I think the whole audio was screwed up the whole time there. So let me hit the intro real quick, and we'll get restarted. And I will try to edit this on the video so it is not, so it doesn't have a bunch of silence here at the beginning. Let me go ahead and try this again.
The Dark Tower by Stephen King. The man in black fled across the desert. The gunslinger followed. Go then. There are other worlds than these. Death, but not for you, gunslinger. It's time we had our own palaver, I think, and it's going to take a while.
And yet, dauntless, the slug horn to my lips I set, and blew. Child Roland to the Dark Tower came.
We are content, one from many. Let the palaver begin.
All right, trying again. Hello and welcome to Dark Tower Palaver. Looks like I had the audio thing reset for some reason. It was not set to the soundboard. So now I think everyone can hear me. Thank you for the heads up, Carol, in the chat, for letting me know that I usually look at that while the intro is going, but I forgot for some reason. But yes, sorry, let's so starting over then. I mentioned before anyone could hear me that obviously it's a different look on the show here than it usually is, and there is unfortunately a reason for that. Let me go ahead and just read what Peter wrote for me to read out here. He starts off by saying, "Hi, all gunslingers." He says, "I'm saddened to announce that I am leaving Dark Tower Palaver. I got a new job with the United States Post Office. I decided to make the change in career to better provide for my family. With the nature of the job, I no longer have regular days off, especially when I first start. I'm saddened I cannot continue on the path of the beam with you all. I will be forever grateful for all your love, support, and emojis," he says in parentheses there, so he is admitting emojis were not something he hated as much as he would let on, "over the years." He says, "When I get to be regular, my schedule might become more regular, and if Tad will have me, I would love to come back. I will leave that door open for now. Remember the faces of your fathers. Long days and pleasant nights. Signed, Peter." So, that is big news. Something that he was actually hoping he'd be able to make this show, but he began the actual outside of the training, but the normal work just the other day. So he was hoping that it wouldn't start till Monday and he'd be able to be here himself. But unfortunately that was not able to happen. So yeah, he wrote that. And then I just wanted to address it in terms of definitely been thinking about it. I think it's going to be tough to go on without Peter. But I do really enjoy doing this, so I do want to continue on. I do think that's going to change the general flow of the show for sure, having only one person. But I do think that especially with everyone in the chat and stuff, I do think it'll be awesome. And I think there's a lot of cool stuff ahead for Dark Tower. And this is an interesting episode too, because this feels like something more for a roundtable to start. But this is actually a book club. So we're going to see what the book clubs look like with only one person to start off here. So yes, I do want to keep going on this. And like Peter said, if down the road, when his schedule evens out, because to begin with, if I understand it correctly, people that are new don't really get their own routes or anything. They just cover other people's vacations and days off and stuff. So he's pretty much like a substitute teacher type thing. So it's very irregular. So hopefully down the road, when things get more regular, he can join us. Like Jake rejoins the journey in the last book that we covered. Maybe Peter can rejoin us down the road at the rate we're going. Who knows? how much he'll actually miss book club wise with the pace that we tend to set. But yeah, so that does change the overall percentages and stuff that we generally try to go through on these book clubs as well. If today's episode's a little bit shorter, I will have to adjust for that. Yeah, and Carol says, "Oh, congratulations on the new career, Peter. You will be missed," and then a heart emoji. Thank you, Carol. But yeah, so that is the announcement. The one thing I just thought about as I was getting ready to go live here was if people pop in throughout the episode, they will have missed this. I will post this on social media and the website. And I'm also going to read it on the next episode as well, because the roundtables, there are some people that only listen to the roundtables and maybe only use our book clubs like when they're actually reading through the stories. So I do know there's regular listeners that sometimes don't listen to the book clubs. So I will have to reread this on the next episode just so roundtable folks can be made aware as well. But yeah, as the episode goes, hopefully it isn't too distracting for people as they pop in. So yeah, let's go ahead though and jump on over. I guess introduction wise, this is Dark Tower Palaver. This is, I guess now my podcast. I'll always think of it as our podcast because Peter's still here in spirit, covering the Dark Tower series and the larger Stephen King universe. And my name is Tad, and, here to hit number 7 on Wizard and Glass, the number 7 book club for this book. Diving right into we're finally the last episode. I know I have some more announcements to hit, but we finally got through we've got through the Blaine stuff, we've got through the Topeka stuff, and we are now into flashback territory as Roland is telling his backstory. Yeah, let's go. Let me go ahead and hit the intro stuff real quick. There is no spoiler warning for this episode because we don't have spoilers in these episodes except for the very end. If we have any topics we want to discuss about spoiler stuff, we keep it at the very end, and there will be a very clear warning before we move into that. But 99% of this episode is going to be where we're at here or before, nothing in advance. So if you're kind of going through the series somewhere, even if you're ahead of us a bit, this is a safe episode to listen to until that warning sounds. If you want to find the podcast, you can find it on Apple Podcasts, stream us on Spotify, as well as Amazon Music, Audible. There's all kinds of places to find podcasting now. It has become way more more popular, so it's all over the place now, and we should be everywhere. If there's ever anything you find that you is a new thing to listen to a podcast for and you can't find Dark Tower Palaver, let me know, and I will try to get that rectified. And then if you want to subscribe, rate, and review us on any of those shows, we'd appreciate that. Then if you want to do the live streams, join us for the live streams here. You can do that over here at youtube.com/darktowerpalaver. If you're here over on YouTube, if you want to like, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications, that definitely helps the YouTube algorithms. But the notifications are good in case things shift scheduling wise. That's always something that is good to have. And then the show notes are at darktowerpalaver.com. I will have Peter's statement on the show notes. But outside of that, I don't think there will be anything for this. We don't generally have show notes for the book club episodes. Then if you want to support the show, you can do that at patreon.com/darktowerpalaver. We have a number of different levels there. Everyone gets access to the Patreon. Or I'm sorry, not the Patreon, to the Discord server, which is where you can chat with us all the time. And I do think Peter's still on there. I know he's going to be busy, but I do think Peter still might be one that you can harass on there if you're on the Patreon side. And then, of course, we also do the monthly hangouts. I know we're behind on that. We've had a lot of craziness even before Peter's job change, so it's been a little bit tough. I am going to work that out. The other thing I want to get into before I get into the rest of the announcements, the other part I forgot to mention before, is the only thing that may be changing when in regards to the two shows, this and Geekery Abides, is I may shift schedules around. I'm almost certain I will. We've kept these kind of bunched together to make it convenient on Peter, and so he isn't necessarily spending more than one trip over here or whatever. So because of that, I might move it around. I don't know if that's going to be like maybe a Friday and a Saturday, one show on different days. But I don't think I'm going to continue doing these 4-hour blocks. One, it gives me some flexibility if a show does go long, especially as the Flanagan Dark Tower series, hopefully, that is coming. As that comes out, I do think that there may be times that episodes may get a little bit stuffed. So not having them bunched right together will be good. I don't fully know exactly how I'm going to do that. Of course, there's a thought of doing like one on a Friday night, one on a Saturday afternoon, whatever, kind of splitting it up on the same weekend. There is also the thought of doing it kind of the same 2 o'clock Saturdays, but every week, alternating weeks, Dark Tower and Geekery Abides. I haven't figured that out yet, but I will have that probably nailed down before the next episode. So keep an eye on your notifications there. But most likely the Dark Tower show is probably going to stay right here, right where it's at. The Geekery Abide show is probably going to move, if anything. So keep your ears peeled for that. Then next up, if you want to interact with the show, you can send an email. I'm going to start just sending out the new email, which is show@darktowerpalaver.com. If you have sent, I'm still always going to keep the email for darktowerpalaver@gmail.com because we have a lot of things I have set up there. So I'm never going to close that one down. So if you're listening through older episodes and send an email, it won't get lost. But future bound, if you want to send this to the emails to show@darktowerpalaver.com, that will be the primary place I'm going to look. Next up, if you want to find the show on social media, we're at facebook.com/darktowerpalaver. You can find us on Twitter at darktowerpod, and then Instagram is at darktowerpalaver. All one word. We're also on Blue Sky, but I completely forgot to get that all typed out on the notes here. But I did set that up as Twitter, again, seems to be melting down a little bit. So I do have a Blue Sky account. If you search us out there, you should be able to find us. I do believe our Twitter also has the link, maybe as a pinned post. So that's all the intro stuff. And then Carol in the chat says just asking about Geekery Abides, because she watches that as well. Same thing. Peter will not be able to be a part of that. I am going to continue on with it, but as I just mentioned, I probably will split them up so they're not one big block. Talking, at least when Peter was here, it's easier to, you're splitting half the time, but talking as one person can get a little bit tiresome on the voice box. So I don't know if a 4-hour solo show or 4-hour block of solo recording is something that my voice can stand up to. So, but we will talk about it on Geekery Abides here at the in about 2 hours from now. So yeah, that is the opening information. The calendar wise, we have, remember, 3 episodes in December. We've got a roundtable in a fortnight on the 2nd of December. We also have a book club, the last of the year in 2023 on the 16th of December. And then we have the year-end bash on the 30th of December, 2023. So that is how the year is going to kind of finish out when it comes to Dark Tower Palaver. No new real things to announce there. So let's go ahead and jump on into Wizard and Glass. So we are now in part 2. Last episode we crossed over from part 1, which I think was called Turnpiken, to part 2, which was subtitled Susan. Was it part 1? No, part 1 was Riddles. I'm sorry. Turnpiken was the name of the chapter. So part 1 was Riddles. We are now in part 2 called Susanna. Or Susan, I'm sorry, not Susanna, Susan. And we are in chapter 2, which is titled Proving Honest. And we are starting with subchapter 1. I do think that we'll go through this chapter in this episode today. Again, I did prep this episode thinking Peter would be here. So if we end up falling a little bit short, and that's the other thing, we may go longer as things start to happen with like the Flanagan series. Hopefully we start getting news on that soon. But also there may be times that the shows may fall a little bit shorter. I will try to maintain as close to the 2 hours as possible. So with the book clubs, I'm going to have to kind of adapt potentially our percentage that we cover per episode. Just doing it myself here. So we are in subchapter 1. Subchapter 1 starts off, Rhea is running to her hut, to the doorway of her tiny, and then she goes into the doorway of her tiny bedroom inside the hut. She figures the girl did not see her outside the hut, or she would have stopped singing, or at least faltered a bit in her singing, and she had not. Her not being seen was good, but the hidey hole had closed itself, and she no longer had time, or she had no time to reopen it. So she hurries to the bed, knelt down, and pushes the box as far beneath the bed as she can manage. That would do until Susie Greengown, she says, or she thinks, was gone. Smiling on the right side of her mouth, as the left side was mostly frozen, she got up, brushed her dress, and went to meet her second appointment of the night. So that is the first little chunk there. So we've gotten a sense of Rhea, but this is giving us more. Though she is likely has some power, she still seems to concern herself with how she's perceived. Just this whole like scrambling into the hut, I guess to me just kind of tells me that she wants to be seen a certain way. And if I don't know, it just seems weird to me because in your general sense, you think like, oh, a witch up on a hill. I feel like maybe she wouldn't care as much if somebody caught her out in the moonlight or whatever, but she does. So I don't know if that's a pride thing or I don't know what it is, but she kind of has a vibe of what she does and doesn't want to be seen apparently. And then I also wonder how many appointments she generally has on a given night. It says it was her second appointment. We did cover the first one a bit through her memory in the last, I think it was the last episode. But I just kind of wonder, with this witch on the hill, I wonder how often does she have visitors? Is this like a nightly thing, or does she have like, once a month? Or it just makes me wonder because, like I think I mentioned last time, I kind of picture it like the Grinch from the Jim Carrey Grinch movie. I guess the Grinch cartoon too, where he lives up on the mountain and he's just kind of isolated from everyone and they're all kind of afraid. It just makes me, I don't know. So who knows? I wonder how often she gets company, though. Probably not a lot, would be my guess. So then jumping over to subchapter 2, behind the witch, under the bed in her room, the unlocked lid of the box clicked open. If we remember last time, she actually broke the lock when opening it. So then it came. So the box is unlocked. It opens itself. It comes up less than an inch, but it's enough for a sliver of rose-colored light to shine out. That is it for this subchapter. It's a really short one. I suppose things moving on their own should not be surprising when witches are involved, but still very unsettling. Everything we've seen so far of this ball is not feeling very good, and now it seems like it almost has its own ability to open its own box to peek out, I guess. Very troubling, seemingly. Next up, subchapter 3. Again, that one was all like I can't remember subchapter 2. I know I just have the recap there, but I'm trying to remember with this one. I think subchapter 2. Yeah, it's only a sentence long, so that's an interesting one of those interesting Stephen King subchapters there. So subchapter 3 is a long one. We have a couple long ones here after a couple that are fairly short. So subchapter 3 starts, Susan Delgado stopped 40 yards from the witch's hut sweating. She thinks she may have seen the old woman, likely the one she came to see, running down the last bit of the path at the top of the hill. She thinks to herself not to stop singing because the an old woman who runs like that does not want to be seen. And if she stops singing, she will know she had been seen. Susan thought she may stop singing anyway, that her memory would close up and she would not be able to get the next verse of the song, and a song that she had been singing since childhood. But the next verse finally came to her, and she continued to sing and walk. And then the lyrics that she's singing it gives here: once my cares were far away, yes, once my cares were far away. Now my love is gone from me, and misery is in the heart to stay. So. And then it goes on, and she thinks to herself that it's a bad song for a night like this, and she thinks, but her heart went its own way, despite what her head thought or wanted, as it always had. So yeah, her heart is what's singing here, and even though she kind of thinks that's maybe not the best song to be singing in such a dark witch's mountain. So we have been hearing about Susan for a bit now, dating back into previous books, actually. There's been a couple times that she's been referenced, but now we're finally meeting her for the first time. As well as even in this earlier book, as Roland's been reacting to the Thinny. He's been calling her name. He's been saying stuff that we don't fully understand. But now here we are. We're finally meeting her, the famous or infamous Susan, and she's moving up towards this witch's hut. So Rhea did not think that she had been seen because Susan did not stop singing, and now we find out that she was seen, but that Susan knew enough to keep that under wraps. We've seen this different subchapter, different point of view thing multiple times throughout the series, and it is something I always enjoy. So in the last one, Rhea's running because she hears the singing, and then now we're seeing the other side of it where Susan's singing and we're getting in her mind. I just love those things. It kind of reminds me of like the old, Japanese movie Rashomon, where it's like showing the events through multiple people, different people's perspectives. I love when Stephen King does this. He's done it multiple times now. I know all through Lud in the last book, we were bouncing around to the different characters, but those are kind of different in different places too. But there are, as like maybe when they reunite, and there was also all through book 3. I can't remember if we had it in book 2, but we have those times where, King is just showing us the different aspects of a given scene. And I always love that. It's just it's a cool storytelling thing that you don't see as often as some other ones. So definitely enjoy that. Next up, getting some good character traits for Susan. The fact that her heart overrides her brain and her thoughts tells us a lot about her. That she may be a more passionate person, maybe more driven through emotion than thoughtful. Not that she's not thoughtful, but the emotion, like there's people like Roland that it's all about brain and very little about feeling, and there's people like Eddie that are more feeling, and feeling can override brain. It seems like Susan is a little bit more in the Eddie side of the camp than the Roland side, which is probably a good thing if we're being honest about Roland. And then the fact that she can self-reflect on it tells us that she is smart enough and aware enough for self-reflection. I don't think we have a whole lot about her yet, but there are people that are old people with gray hair that don't have the ability for proper self-reflection. So that's shows some maturity in her. That she's able to reflect on herself to understand and analyze the aspects about herself. So she was frightened to be out by moonlight where werewolves are said to walk, and she was frightened of her errand and what it meant for her future. Despite her fear, when she got out to the great road of Hambry and her heart told her to run, she had run. Under the light of the kissing moon, she hitched up her skirt above her knees and galloped like a pony. She ran for a mile or more until her muscles tingled and her breath tasted like sweet, heated liquid. When she reached the track leading to the higher area, she had begun to sing because her heart demanded it. Because her heart demanded it, because it kept her melancholy away. So it isn't even necessarily fear as much as melancholy that's got her. That her heart's telling her to sing to kind of get rid of that. She walks to the end of the path, singing the chorus of Careless Love, and as she steps into the scant light that fell through the open door of the hut, a harsh voice told her to stop the singing because it catches in the brain like a fish hook, which that's an interesting way to talk about what do you call those? Earworms is what we would call them. One of those songs that, once somebody starts singing it, you will have it stuck in your head for a week. Susan was taken aback as she thought as she had been told all her life that she had a fair singing voice, and she fell silent. Her heart was beating really hard. I actually looked up, so at some point I heard reference that Careless Love is actually a song in our world. That's funny because I had never really considered that in reading this story. I always thought it was just something invented here. But in looking it up and looking at the lyrics, it does not match anything that we read in that previous bit where we're given the lyrics from Susan. So I don't know if it's supposed to be the exact same song or if it's just supposed to be a song that has a similar title to a song that we have in our world. But it doesn't. There's the whole once my cares were far away, that whole thing I just read a second ago, that is nowhere in the song that I found in our world. So I don't know with if that's just a song created for this here. And then next up, my notes for this little section. So werewolves exist in this world along with witches. I guess we should not be surprised with everything we've seen in this world. I don't think there's anything that can surprise me at this point. We've seen so many things from our own world, whether it be the Beatles or the Bible or whatever else, Sitgo, some brands that we've seen. But we also have witches. We have giant robotic bears that are, thousands of years old. We've got, like, I'm just trying to think of all the I mean, we've had demons. We've had allusions to Roland talking about possessed machines. This world is not one that at this point, this late into where we are in the story, I guess I'm not in a place where anything really shocks me about this story. It feels like it's something that anything could pop up at any time. But yeah, werewolves apparently are a thing that at least she thinks about. So I don't know if they're real things or if it's just like a fear. I mean, of course, Peter was always talking about his fear of werewolves, and we know werewolves don't exist in our world. But she does, but he is still scared of them. So maybe she is scared of something that's mythical. At this point, there's no way of telling. So she is frightened about her errand and what it means for her future. That doesn't sound good. One, why are you going up to a witch's hut in the middle of the night? And two, it's an errand, and she's not only scared of the errand, but what it means for her future. Those are not good tea leaves to be reading here about what's going on. When we saw last time that Rhea was angry that Susan was early, and her running out of fear for a mile or more. We're now finding out that she was scared, so she ran for at least a mile, if not more. So now that's kind of explaining why she's early. Although from my perspective, I'm one that's always early to everything. I was raised where if you're on time, you're late. So I've always been one to, if I'm supposed to be somewhere, I'm usually there 15, 20 minutes early anyway. I may not go in if I'm like an appointment or something, but I'm at least out in my car taking off the time because you never know when traffic or whatever. That's just my way. So yeah, the fact that Rhea is so mad about being early definitely hits me a little bit because I am early all the time. Then we see she was singing to bed down not only her fears, but her melancholy. Her melancholy is the main thing, but it does kind of allude to, maybe it's something to take your mind off the fears, too, of werewolves. So she is hearing the voice, but it gives the sense that it's just a voice, and she can't see Rhea yet. As she gets up to the hut here, the voice comes out telling her to shut up. It sticks in the brain like a fish hook. But it doesn't really give us the impression that she can really see Rhea, so it just feels like it's like the classic, spooky hut or hovel, whatever else. But it's just dark and you can't see into it. But then you hear a voice coming out of it. It just feels like that's something we've all seen in whether it be a cartoon or a horror movie. So that's fairly unnerving. I can imagine what Susan is thinking as she's dealing with this situation. So next, a hideous cat with two large legs sticking out of its side came to the doorway. It looked her up and down and seemed to have an eerily human look of contempt for her. It hissed at her and ran away into the night. The old woman stepped into the doorway and looked Susan up and down with the same expression of contempt, and then stood back and told her to come in and make sure the door clapped shut because the wind had a way of blowing it open. Susan stepped in, and she did not want to close herself into this bad-smelling room with the old woman, but had no choice. She pulled the door shut. Rhea smiled at Susan and made her think of all the stories of witches she had ever heard. Susan thought that the woman was truly a witch and not just an old woman trying to appear as a witch. It was something she could almost smell. Rhea mentioned she is early, and Susan said she ran part of the way and the moon got into her blood. At least that is what her dad would say. And that's what her dad would say. And Rhea says her dad is dead and has been for 5 years. Her dad was Pat Delgado of the red hair and beard and had the life smashed out of him by his own horse, is what Rhea says. Also, I do want to point out, just as a pause real quick, I give all credit to Frank Muller, who does the audiobook, because he does a very witchy voice for this character. In fact, in the last episode, we were discussing how it's being unveiled, and we didn't necessarily have the confirmation that Rhea was actually a witch. But when you're doing the audiobook, it's slightly spoiled for you, and this old woman is clearly a witch because the voice that Frank uses for her is very witchy. It's everything you would imagine, and it's an incredible performance by Frank, as most of his voices for these characters, all these characters are really good. So Rhea also says that he went to the clearing at the end of the path with the music of his own breaking bones in his ears. Susan felt slapped and ready to cry, as she was any time her dad was mentioned, but she was not going to cry in front of this old crow. So the muted cat will be a very grotesque thing to see on screen, I'm sure. I think in general, we don't see a lot of mutated animals in our world. Of course, there's always exceptions to that, birth defects or whatever else. But I don't know. It's kind of like the uncanny valley thing. I feel like when there's some element that just is not right. I mean, whether it be a horror movie that does it or whatever else, it's always very hard to look at. And I kind of imagine a cat with two legs coming out of its side may qualify for such horrible things to see when Mr. Flanagan hopefully gets us this on screen. So my next note, I don't give the cat any credit for looking at Susan with contempt, because honestly, isn't that what cats do? It just seems to me looks of contempt are almost the default for cats. So, it does say it was eerily human-like, but the look of contempt part just feels very Cat 101 to me. Of course, if you have a pet cat, eventually it gets to a spot where it loves you and it may look at you differently. But I think we've all been looked at one time or another, looked at by a cat that is looking at us with some sort of contempt, or at least the appearance of such. So Susanna's Susan's father is Susanna. I am listening to the tail end of the series right now. So Susanna is been heavily in my head, that name, so it's going to be tough to not mix it up. Same way as we've done some of these book clubs previous. I've called Susanna Susan a number of times as well. The names are very similar, and it is easy to jumble them up in the head. So Susan's father is dead, and he has been dead for 5 years. He was crushed under his horse, and it appears from what we're seeing here, it is still a very raw nerve for Susan, even 5 years later. Of course, everyone grieves differently, but 5 years, especially, we don't know Susan's age yet, but it does seem that she's maybe on the younger side. So 5 years is a long time. Not to say that it's not going to be a sore subject, but it does feel like it's still more of a raw nerve. I don't know. That's just an interesting thing to look at, in regards to her father that's no longer with her here. Moving on, Susan tells Rhea to let their business be done quick, and she says it in a dry manner, which is unlike her normal tone, as she is usually cheery and merry. She was the daughter of Pat Delgado, quote, the best drover to ever work the Western Drop, and she remembered his face very well. She knew Rhea was trying to hurt her, and if she showed sign that it was working, she would only continue on doing it. The hag stared at Susan with her gray-green eyes that were the same shade as the cat's eyes, and Susan wondered what magic that might be. Susan felt like dropping her eyes, but refused to. It was okay to be afraid, but sometimes it's a bad idea to show it. Rhea tells Susan that she is looking at her pert, and her smile was dissolving into a frown. She tells her she is here to do her business and leave, and she is here at the wish of the mayor of Magus and of her aunt Cordelia, sister of her father, with whom she would hear no ill spoken of. Rhea says that she speaks as she will, and she has lived alone for a long time, so her tongue will go where it wills. Susanna then tells her that maybe she should hold her tongue then if it's going to flap without any kind of control. Susan talks back. Rhea threatens her with killing her tongue and saying that the mayor will think twice about kissing her as her tongue rots in her mouth. Susan is bewildered. She just came to get this business done, and it has gone all wrong and so fast. She asks to start over and reaches her hand out to shake, and Rhea took her hand, and it does mention that Susan is 16 years old. So going back to my previous thing saying I do think she seems a little bit younger, that also adds to my note from the previous section where 5 years after her father's death, it's still a very raw nerve. For her being 16, yeah, that means from age 11 to age 16, she's had this, and it doesn't seem like the hurt of that death has worn at all. And I know everyone handles grief differently, but it's interesting 5 years for a 16-year-old. And she thinks, and going back to my recap here, and she thinks Rhea's hand feels cold and spongy, like someone who drowned and lain in a pool for some time before being discovered. Rhea says that there is no starting over, but Susan has powerful friends with the mayor, and Rhea would not have him as an enemy. Susan thinks she is being honest, and she does not think Rhea would be honest. And Susan thinks that she is being honest, and she doesn't think that as a rule Rhea is honest unless she absolutely has to be. So that's very sounds about right for a witch as well. So Susan is generally cheery, but not here, it says. Good for King to point this out. It's always tough when you're meeting a new character for the first time, and they're in a super unique situation where they end up acting out of character, because you might just assume that's their normal character. I know in a book, an author can point it out like Stephen King just did here. But, it's so easy sometimes to just go with your first impression. And the first impression might be that she is a little bit more feisty, and, can run off at the mouth like she's doing here, when in fact that's really not her nature. So I love that King's pointing it out to us to let us know, that down the road when she is more, what King is saying would be her normal manner, it won't look like it's out of character. It'll be interesting to see how the show deals with this, because, it's easy to do this with like Stephen King saying, oh, she's normally not like this. But for Mike Flanagan, if he's going to do a show, it'll be a lot harder for him to portray that Susan is acting out of character here in her first scene. So Susan's dad is dead and has been for 5 years, but still a sort of subject for her. I do think that speaks to the kind of relationship that the two had. Again, especially considering her age. So from 11 to 16, she's lived without her father, and the fact that it is still so raw and at such a young age, because kids can tend to be able to evolve past traumas a little bit quicker in some cases than maybe adults. That can just, it can destroy adults sometimes, because if they're unused to things like death and stuff, and they don't hit it till they're older. I've seen it myself where I like personally dealt with some death earlier in my life, and then when I saw some death on the other side of my family with people that hadn't dealt with it, I saw people double or 3 times my age that were handling it much poorer than I was, because they had not really dealt with death up to that point. So I don't know, it just feels like kids are resilient, I guess, is one way to say it. So the fact that she is still so raw about her dad's death, I think it speaks very highly to the kind of relationship the two had, and they must have been very close. So next up, my next note, also no mention of her mother here. She says that she is here at the request of the mayor and her aunt. So I'm guessing just through, I don't know, just the fact that the mom's not mentioned would probably lead me to suspect that there was no mom in the picture. I don't know, because otherwise wouldn't it be talking about her mom and not her aunt? So that's another interesting thing about Susan. It also says that she's 16-year-old, and I already mentioned that. So yeah, she lost him at 11. It's also good to learn her age. So now we kind of get it. We kind of know where we're at. She's 16. We know Roland's about 14. It kind of sets the stage a bit, because, for her to have the whole section here named after her gives me an impression that she's probably going to be a major player in this story. So it's good to know kind of what the geography of everything is in terms of ages here. So next up, Rhea says she is being early has put her out of sorts and has given her a temper. She asks if Susan brought her something. Susan reaches beneath her apron, and in her pocket, tied to a string, so it cannot easily be lost, is a cloth bag. She brought the bag out and gave it to Rhea. She tried not to touch the witch again, but knew the witch would be touching her soon. Susan shivers, and Rhea thinks that it is from the wind, and she tells Susan that the wind howling is something that she should shudder about, because it is the voices of the dead. And that's a comforting thought. The knot on the bag, Rhea is fighting it, eventually comes opened, and 2 gold coins come out of the bag. It does say they're crudely made and not totally even, and had an eagle on them. Rhea bit down on one of them and closed her hand over them tightly. When Rhea was focused on the coins, Susan looked into the bedroom and saw the glow of the ball coming from beneath the bed. Rhea tells her that her fire needs to be fed and sends her to get some wood from outside. She thought about arguing, getting wood for her, especially because she's paying her for some sort of service, but she figures that the fresh air outside will be sweet after the stench of this hut. She kicks the cat as she is nearing the door and trips over it, almost falls. The cat hisses at her, and without thinking about it, she hisses back at it. And the look of surprise on the cat's face is very human. Before it ran away, Susan walked out the door. And that is the end of this subchapter. My notes here, now we are getting, at least getting to the business at hand with the exchange of money and all. And we're getting pretty tense. It was getting pretty tense there for a bit. Susan asks to restart. Rhea says that you can't really restart. But, it does seem like there's a little bit of a let's move past this vibe going on. So also Susan spying the ball. Hints of the ball is interesting. It does seem like it's a big thing so far. It does seem like it's a powerful thing. So at least someone outside of the people that delivered it to the witch now knows about it. I remember thinking that the first time reading it is, first you hear these hard calibers, or I think is what the word she used, that came and dropped the ball off to her. Kind of replays it in her memory, and now the witch has it. I don't know, it just feels like there's an element of hiding. So I remember the first time reading through this, kind of pointing at this in my mind and going, okay, good, at least someone that I assume is good has at least an idea of the fact that this ball is up here, because it seems like it'll be an important thing. I also love Susan hissing at the cat. And the fact that shocks it. I don't know why. That always makes me smile. It makes me laugh a little bit, because it is kind of absurd to hiss at a cat that hissed at you. But yeah, it's definitely interesting. And again, this cat is something else. Let's go ahead and move on to subchapter 4. So my first recap here, the air was sweet outside, and Susan breathed heavily, trying to cleanse her lungs and her mind. She went around the side of the hut, and it must have been the wrong side, because there was no wood, but she did see a small window that looked into the witch's room. In her mind, she told herself not to look, but she went to the window and peeked in anyway. The window had pig ivy covering it enough so that even if Rhea were to look that way, she would not have been seen. Looking through the window, but Rhea had not been looking in this direction. She was on her knees, reaching under the bed, with the drawstring bag in her teeth. She brought the box out and opened the lid, and her face was lit with the pink glow of the ball, and her face began to look young again, though still cruel and evil. Susan saw the light appear to be coming from a glass ball. The old hag seemed to be talking or singing to the ball with the drawstring bag still in her teeth. Then, with great effort of will, she closed the box. Susan was relieved. There was something about it, but was relieved that she closed the box, because there was something about it she did not like. Rhea cupped her hand over the lock and ran her hand over the dirt, though writing then began to appear on the dirt as though she was using her finger to draw, even though she was just putting her palm over it. So definitely some witchy stuff going on here. Susan seeing it, Susan told herself to go get the wood before she wakes to how long she had been gone. She hikes up her dress and crawls beneath the window to the far side and found the wood pile and took half a dozen chunks of wood and walked back to the door of the hut. So I think we've all experienced something smelly before in an enclosed location. It could be somebody's house that you're unfamiliar with, or it could be a place in nature, or a zoo, or a business. There's all kinds of things that may happen. And I think we've all been there. We've all been exposed to it, at least for a moment. I mean, I think I always remember the Stand references. Is it the monkey exhibit? Because it's actually something that I've experienced, because I think it was the monkey exhibit. Because I've dealt with the same thing here in Utah. Our local zoo went to the monkey enclosure there, and again, it's just this rank smell. And so I think we've all experienced something, would be my guess, similar in one way or another. And I think we all know that relief of finally going outside into fresh air after being in a place like that, and being able to breathe fresh air. And it's like drinking something sweet and delicious after some pretty nasty smells. Susan is putting herself at risk here. I was pretty nervous for her the first time reading it. I know her internal monologue is telling her, don't look, don't risk it. I remember kind of yelling at the book the same thing. It's like, don't even fucking do it. This has already gone very, very poorly for you. Please don't open up the possibility of it going even worse for you. So now she now sees not only the entire ball, but that Rhea is looking younger in its light and some of its witchiness, as well as she's also seeing Rhea's hiding spots. So again, kind of good to see some of these elements of information getting to someone that is hopefully the right kind of person. Again, I don't know, but my impression is that Rhea probably doesn't have a lot of visitors. And if, I don't know, there's just something, it seems important about this, because we know these outside people brought this ball to her and they're giving it to her for a short period of time. It just feels like it's probably something, as well as the title of the book is Wizard in Glass, and now we have this glass ball. It does kind of feel like this is going to be a larger plot point. In my head, I remember thinking that the first time. I don't remember which cover I had, but I do know some of the covers, like the one I have on the screen here, do even show the ball on there as well. So again, all of those things I remember thinking the first time through. I'm really glad that she's seeing this. It does feel like something that could pay off for the good, I guess, for in some way, that the good people can now have someone that can point to and say, hey, I saw this horrible thing that belongs to this horrible, or is in the possession of this horrible woman, because it does feel like at some point that might be useful information to have. So she turns sideways to fit back through the door with all the wood in her arms, and the old woman is back in this area with the drawstring bag long gone. Rhea tells her, or asks her, or tells her that it took her long enough. Susan says that she saw a spider and had to flap her apron to make it run away. Rhea says that she'll be seeing something she likes less before too long. And then she says, out of Thorin's nightshirt it'll come, stiff and red. So that is disgusting. She then comments that she had brought enough wood for a bonfire. Of course, I have to pause and think to myself, that's good. Let's burn us a witch here. But no hope that would actually happen. But Rhea saying a bonfire does make me think, burn this witch. Because I already don't like her. She's just a nasty being for sure. And it's going to get much worse, unfortunately. So Rhea took two big pieces and put them in, and Susan thinks that she just put out what was left of her fire, and she would now have to restart the entire thing. But Rhea points her finger to the wood in the fireplace, or in the fire, and speaks a guttural word, and the fire blazes as if it was set with oil. So definitely some full-on witchiness there. Susan puts the rest of the wood down. Rhea says that they should get on with the business and asks if she knows why she's here. And Susan says that it is for Mayor Thorin, and his wife has come to the end of her childbearing years and has not given Thorin a son. Rhea interrupts and says that no, he wants a younger girl. Essentially, I'm definitely parsing down the much more vulgar language that Rhea is using. Though she does say, and I guess I did note it here, that she does say it in a far more unsavory fashion. Then she says, if a son comes of it, that is fine, and Susan could raise it until it was old enough for school. And then, let's see, old enough for school, and then she would see it no more. And if it was a girl, it would probably be given to one of the mayor's men. Susan is shocked by these words, and Rhea laughs, saying that she does not like the truth, and that Susan's aunt is Trig and will have done well from Thorin and from his treasury from all of this. She then tells Susan to take off her dress and thinks to say no more, but knows that she can't, and she might be turned into an animal by this witch. If she were to refuse or to say something horrible. She reflects that she has given her word, and her aunt often invoked her father's name whenever it came to giving her word. So some classic manipulation there. Losing my spot here. All right, so my notes for this section: Rhea did notice how long it took that she came came up, but Susan came up with a good excuse to cover her story. I remember being nervous about this the first time reading it, because it just seems like you're going out to grab some wood, and like in my mind, like the way this would play out, it would be noticeable that she was gone for a lot longer. So I was nervous about that, but Susan was on it. You never know, especially with someone younger like this. Susan being only 16, she may not be able to, come to something so quickly, and she might get caught. So I'm glad that she was quick on her feet to come up with an excuse for Rhea here. So Susan is being married to the mayor, who is still married to someone probably his own age. If Rhea is right, this is more about lust than an heir. Again, we found out earlier that Susan is only 16, so this is extraordinarily gross. We don't know a lot about the mayor yet. It does mention, or the way that Rhea's talking gives you an impression he's probably older, as well as in general, I don't think you've got a lot of 20-year-old mayors. I think generally speaking, mayors are going to be a bit older, so this is extraordinarily disgusting. Ugly things going on here. So Rhea gives a bleak look at what a kid might look like for Susan. Also, that Susan's aunt has done well from the mayor and his treasury. So she is basically selling her niece, is what I've taken from that. The fact that she says your aunt's doing well and from the mayor and his treasury. Yeah. So I'm guessing there's some sort of I always forget the word. Is it dowry? Is that the right word? When people would pay for the marriage of someone. So that's unfortunate, and the fact that it's going to this aunt does not necessarily spell great things for this aunt in my mind. Reading it the first time, of course we'll meet her at some point, I'm sure, but already just the way that that's all worded there from Rhea is a strike in the column of this said aunt. So going on here, Susan takes off the apron and then the dress. She is trying to ignore the way that Rhea is looking at her. She stood in only her underwear, and Rhea told her to take those off too, and she did. And Rhea says no wonder the mayor wants her. She is beautiful. Rhea notices the dirt on her knees and asks about them. Susanna again thinks fast and says that she was scared as she was coming up to the hut and knelt to pray, but raised her skirt so as not to soil it. And Rhea just marvels that she would try to keep herself clean for the likes of Rhea. Rhea asks if she knows what she is supposed to do, and Susan says no, and she has an idea, but her aunt would not tell her. Rhea says of course her aunt wouldn't dirty her mouth with what was going to happen here. Rhea says she is going to make sure that she is physically and spiritually intact, proving honest, as the old ones call it. She told Susan to step towards her, and she did. Rhea says if the devil or a demon had polluted her spirit, it would leave a mark, and to open her mouth. So she's checking her body, but she also then tells her to open her mouth. Susan does. She rolls her tongue out. After she's been asked, she's asked to blow breath into Rhea's face, and she does, even though the stench of Rhea is making Susan's guts clench. She has to run at her tongue, breathe in her face, all while Susan is close enough to see the lice in Rhea's hair. So yeah, this is all very, very disgusting. I am being very, I don't know. I'm going over a lot of this without getting into too much detail, because there is a lot more detail here of what is going on. But I would rather not get into it. It's pretty uncomfortable stuff. Rhea then had her move around in various positions as she poked and molested her in various ways. After it was over, Susan tells her they are done, and Rhea chirps back, and Susan threatens to kick her into the fire. And Rhea threatened her, and Susan says the mayor would be upset if Rhea was to do anything to her, and she felt shame as she had never invoked a man's name for her own protection before. Rhea finally says she is honest and to get dressed. Rhea tells her not to tell Thorin what happened here, because yes, I am glazing over this, but it is very graphic, all of the things that Rhea does to ensure purity. I just didn't necessarily feel like going into the nitty-gritty details of all the things going on. I think any of us that have read it know exactly all the things that are spelled out, and they are not pleasant. So Rhea grabbed a piece of paper and wrote honest, and I actually have a slide because King put it in there. Both honest spelled without an H, and then also a symbol below it. Susan asks what that is. Rhea says that it is her mark, and it is known for 6 baronies and cannot be copied. She tells her to show the paper to her aunt, but not to give it to her. That only Susan is to give it to Thorin, not her aunt. Susan asks what if he wants to take it. The mayor wants to take it. Rhea says she doesn't care if he burns it or wipes his ass with it. Rhea says not to lose the paper, however, otherwise, unless you would want to come back up here and do this all again, which, of course, Susan shudders to think of such things. They went to the door and looked at the moon. The kissing moon, meaning it was midsummer. Rhea points that out. Rhea says Thorin cannot have her until Demon Moon rises full in the sky. Susan says not until reaping, which was 3 months away. Susan tried not to show her delight at this comment, of this commuting of her sentence, seemingly. Rhea says yes, not until true Findiano or the fair night, not until then. Rhea tells her that she will use that time to meditate and gather herself into getting him a male heir. Susan asks if or just ride around on her horses as she always does, Rhea says. Susan asks if there is business, if their business is done, and Rhea says there's one more thing, and she pulls out a medallion, and Susan's eyes lock on it, and Rhea says a guttural word, and Susan's eyes close. So yeah, this is all very uncomfortable to read. It's just, it's uncomfortable, period. But then when you add in the fact that, it is a witch, and then you add the fact that this is a 16-year-old, kid, basically, this is all very, very uncomfortable. I remember squirming the first time reading it. It was just not fun. So I remember Peter was squirming the last episode over the gross Rhea stuff, and I think this makes the previous stuff look tame by comparison. Then she gives her all the directions, including who she can and cannot give the note to, and when the mayor is allowed to have her. So it's all I feel like this is all setting the stage in my mind. I mean, I don't know if this feast, the reaping, I don't know if that's going to happen midway through the book or whatever else. The first time reading this, I was not overly happy about how long the flashback took, because I wanted to move forward toward the tower. It is my favorite book now, but it was probably my least favorite the first time I read it. But I ultimately didn't know when this, what this is. But either way, King is setting up a ticking clock a little bit. We understand now the full lay of the land. Susan doesn't have a father. It is her aunt now. Her aunt seems to have sold her to the mayor, who is still married to a living woman, but is now getting this young girl instead to replace his wife. Now this witch is proving her purity spiritually and physically, and then but then giving her a period of time. It's just something that I'm guessing King is going to use as a ticking clock throughout this book, because we'll know that reaping is going to be the big time where Susan is going to have to go to the mayor. So it just feels like good storytelling here to set that up, to understand the clock is ticking. So Rhea looked at the girl who stood asleep on her stoop in the moonlight. She moved the medallion back into her sleeve. Her fingers were old, but they were dexterous. In her mind, she fumed about the threat that Susan made about kicking her in the fire, and she is thinking she was better than Rhea. She was just angry about all that. She knew she could not hurt the girl as much as she would like to, but she could spoil his pleasure in her, at least for a while. She then speaks to her and asks if she hears her, and she does, and she tells her to remember in her subconscious, in her deep cave, it says. And says that there is something she will do after she loses her virginity, and she will do it right away without even thinking about it. She then whispers into her ear in the moonlight. So that is the way the chapter ends. So, and then my notes here. Yeah, I figure something a lot worse would come of this. Rhea is a witch, and witches are great at making things worse. And it seems like we're not going to be let in on what this worse is. But something is happening here. She's also looking to get at the mayor as well, which is interesting, because she's said a few times now, or alluded a few times to the fact that she doesn't want the mayor as an enemy. But does seem like she's willing to kind of spite the mayor a little bit. And I don't know if she's just trying to ruin his pleasure in Susan to harm Susan, or if it's against the mayor. I don't know if it's a roundabout way to try to hurt Susan and make her feel more worthless, or if it is like just like a thumb in the eye of the mayor as well. Very interesting. But we are not let in exactly what she's saying. King is famous for that. I love that there's like two ways that King goes about things. Sometimes he'll just drop a full-on quote-unquote spoiler. I know he's a storyteller, so he could say whatever he wants. But sometimes he'll drop, like we always joke about. He'll have these lines like, "And this is the last time these two ever talk to each other." And then like maybe two characters, then one of them dies like multiple chapters later. But King dropped that on you. And then there's these other times like this where something is kind of obstructed from you and hidden from you, and you don't really know what it is, but you kind of know now that there is this thing that will pop off at some point. So very interesting. I know we I mentioned at the top of the show that all the stuff with Peter ended up happening kind of late, so this episode is already mostly prepped, and I didn't know necessarily. I should have added more because that is actually all I was meaning to cover. I didn't realize that. I guess I should have, because having only one host instead of two I didn't know if it cut everything in half though. But I guess there is a little bit less discussion. But I do have a spoiler. I forgot to type it out, but I remembered as I was covering it here. So let's go ahead and hit the spoiler section. And I do in the future, like I said, I apologize, this is a little bit shorter. In the future, I will prep more stuff in response to being alone here. But let me go ahead and hit the spoiler thing real quick, and let's talk about a spoiler thought that I had here.
Warning, spoilers ahead. Warning, spoilers ahead. Warning, spoilers ahead.
All right, so spoiler section, and Carol said same here. How long is this going to take? Almost the entire book. Yes, and I did not know that reading it the first time, but yes, ultimately it is a ticking clock, and now we know. Now that we're in the spoiler section, we can talk about the fact that we do know that this is basically going to take the entire book for this timeline to play out with the reaping. But I wanted to talk about when Rhea says to Susan that if she has a son, she'll have the raising of it until it is old enough for school, and then she'll see it no more. And if it's a girl, she says if it's a girl, basically says it'll be given to the big coffin hunters, which is a very unsettling thing to think about. But it just made me think, because I am literally following right now in my reread. I've mentioned it multiple times. I'm in a reread of The Dark Tower right now. While I was prepping for this episode, I was listening, and literally Roland is scaling the tower is where I'm reading. So I am at the very, very end. I think I've got like 20-30 minutes left of the story. But yes, the one thing that jumped out at me is when she's saying all this to Susan about, if it's a son, you'll have the raising of it till it's old enough to school, then it'll be taken from you and you'll never see it again. It reminds me a lot of Mia, which I just read that in the last like couple weeks, or probably the last week or so, as Susan is telling or Susanna is telling Mia that this kid is going to be taken from her, but she's like, no, I was told I'd get like 5 years or 7 years, whatever the years was. She was told she'd be given the raising of the child up to a certain point, but then when she's on the phone with Sayre, he reduces it by a couple years, and then as they are getting closer and closer to the delivery, they keep changing the story on her. So this kind of reminded me of that, because that is very fresh in my mind, but it is almost a very similar thing. So I don't know if this is I don't know. I guess I don't know what Mia was expecting, but it does feel, I don't know if this is just indicative of this world where women don't really have a whole lot of place for the children. We do know that Roland has a relationship with his mom. But I don't know, maybe that's different for for like a gunslinger, in Gilead versus these people on the outer fringes. But in terms of like, obviously, Mordred, they had larger plans for as well. But ultimately it seems kind of big examples now, where a mother is being told that she'll only have a very short period of time with her kid, and then it'll be taken from her. And again, Susan is obviously pretty shocked here, because I think she's probably got this rainbows and lollipops type picture in her head of what a kid is going to look like for her, and now Rhea is here popping all those those illusions and just dispelling them all, unfortunately. So that was an interesting reminder. So yeah, again, unfortunately, I wish I had more time. Again, I wish I had more stuff that I was covering. But I was actually, as I was prepping this during the week, we were still under the impression that Peter would be able to join for this episode, to, say farewell as well as do this episode. So, in the future, I'm going to up the percentage so there's more to cover. So it will be a longer episode and keep to our normal lengths. But I didn't have enough time to prep more stuff for this episode, after I learned that Peter would not be able to make this episode. So this is kind of short, unfortunately. But yes, I will. Let's see. Let me look at the calendar again. So in a couple weeks, we'll be back for a roundtable. Again, we'll cover all the Peter stuff at the top of that show as well. I'll have it all in the show notes as well. But then we'll talk about news as well as I do want to throw out, now that I know we're kind of in the spoiler section. We forgot to mention, I probably shouldn't have mentioned it in the roundtable in November, which was a couple weeks ago, that we do want to be doing the March Madness, or what do I call it? March Insanity. The March Insanity poll. I know earlier in the year we had discussed some potential topic ideas. I don't remember if either of us wrote those down. So start getting your ideas for those, and get ready to send those in, because what I'm thinking is I'm going to call out for sure to have everyone email or hit us up on social media. Hit me up on social media. Let me know what topic ideas you guys may want to vote on for 2024's March Insanity. I'll throw out that challenge in a couple weeks, but if you want to get them in early, you certainly can. And then on the year-end bash, I will announce the topic, because then you'll have basically all of January and a chunk of February to send in your nominations, because first we want to pick a topic, and then once we have a topic, we will pick out our 16 choices to vote on, and then we'll do that. So we have done most hated character, most beloved character, and favorite Dark Tower moment. So if you have any ideas for what you want to see poll-wise for 2024, start sending those in at show@darktowerpalaver.com. Thank you, Carol. Thanks for the kind words. Let me go ahead and hit the outro stuff. If you want to find us on any podcasting service, you can find us included anywhere: Apple, Amazon Music, Audible. You could stream us on Spotify. You can watch the old YouTube videos here on YouTube. If you want to watch a show that was previously live streamed, you could always do that. That's always a doable thing. We always have those posted. If you want to subscribe, rate, and review us on any of those, and on YouTube, if you could like, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications. If you want to join us live, if you do subscribe and ring the bell for notifications, you will be made aware when we're going live. Again, there will be a little bit of shifting of schedules based on the new realities, but most likely this show is probably going to stay where it's at, but the Geekery Abides, I'll probably move a little bit. Just to make it easier. And then you can find the show notes at darktowerpalaver.com. And if you want to support the show, you can do that at patreon.com/darktowerpalaver. Then if you want to email us, hit us up here, hit me up at show@darktowerpalaver.com. And then if you want to hit us up on Facebook, facebook.com/darktowerpalaver, or on Twitter @darktowerpod. I, again, don't have the Blue Sky thing. I know theirs isn't as easy as Twitter's is, but we are on Blue Sky as well if you want to search us there. If you're on one of those alternates to Twitter, Blue Sky is one of them, and so far I have an account on there. So we are over there as well. So I'll be back in a couple weeks for the roundtable. Let's see, what is it, 144? And hopefully we got some Flanagan news coming. But yeah, I'm now the strikes are resolved and everything. I'm hoping that some Flanagan news will drop before the end of the year or very, very beginning of next year, because it did seem like some of the stuff he was saying was the strikes he had some stuff in place, it seemed like, or something in place, that the strikes were the primary things that was stopping him from announcing. So I'm hoping that something will be coming in the next month or so. That would be awesome. So sign off as always do by saying long days and pleasant nights. All right, everyone on the YouTube side, thank you for joining. Sorry, again, it's a little bit shorter. I will definitely adjust that and do cover more in the future. And if you also want to send it or have any comments about what we're reading, and throw those in, have any conversation in the chat as well. But I will prep probably about double what we would normally do now that it is just me kind of going through the book clubs. But yeah, we'll see you guys. I will go with normal time, 4:15 for Geekery Abides if you want to join over there. Let me also, usually I throw the link to that in the chat here. If you want to join us over there, there's the link to the next episode of Geekery Abides, which will be in about an hour. If you want to join me over there, and we will discuss a bunch of news and Band of Brothers. All right, see you guys.